In the quiet hum of my cubicle at Horizon Systems, nestled in the heart of Austin, Texas, I felt the weight of 6 years pressing against my chest. My name is Emily Harper, and at 34, I'd carved a path from a wide-eyed junior sales associate to business development manager through sheer grit and countless late nights. The glow of my computer screen illuminated a spreadsheet that held my proudest achievement yet: a $60 million, 5-year contract with Apex Logistics, a Seattle-based giant that could redefine Horizon's place in the supply chain software industry. This deal wasn't just numbers on a page. It was my heart, my hustle, my proof that a state school diploma from Ohio State could outshine the Ivy League pedigrees that dominated our executive suites. But as I finalized the pitch deck, a storm was brewing, one I could sense in the sharp glances and hushed whispers that followed me through the office. Horizon Systems wasn't glamorous. Our software powered the invisible arteries of commerce, ensuring trucks rolled and warehouses hummed. It was essential, not flashy, and I loved that. I thrived on solving problems for clients who trusted me to understand their chaos. Apex Logistics was the pinnacle of that trust. For nearly a year, I'd flown to Seattle 5 times, sat in their boardrooms, and listened to their pain points over coffee that tasted like ambition. I'd mapped their multimodal supply chain needs, crafted a solution that felt like a tailored suit, and built a rapport that turned strangers into partners. Lauren Mitchell, Apex's CEO, wasn't just a client. She was my college roommate, a bond forged over late-night study sessions at Ohio State, splitting cheap pizza and dreaming of futures we couldn't yet see. I never leaned on our friendship to win the deal that would have cheapened it, but it opened the door and I walked through with results. That morning, as sunlight streamed through the office windows, I sat back and let pride warm me. My cubicle was a modest kingdom, a photo of my parents in Columbus, Ohio, a thank you note from a high school student I'd mentored through our community outreach program, and my Ohio State diploma, framed with care. It wasn't Harvard or Yale. A fact Victoria Langston, our newly promoted vice president of sales, never let me forget. Victoria swept into Horizon 6 months ago. Her Yale MBA, a golden ticket that fast-tracked her past veterans like me. Her tailored blazers and clipped diction screamed privilege, and her ambition was a blade, sharp and gleaming. I didn't resent her success, but I felt the sting of her subtle digs, the way she'd pause before saying, Ohio State, as if it were a punchline. The tension broke during our team meeting in the conference room, a glass-walled space that felt like a stage. I was presenting the Apex pitch deck, walking through slides that bore my sleepless nights, when Victoria interrupted. Emily, this is solid groundwork, she said, her voice smooth as silk. But I've been refining the strategy to align with Apex's enterprise vision. The room went still. Marcus Reed, my colleague and fiercest ally, leaned forward, his rumpled blazer a stark contrast to Victoria's polish. Refining? He said, his tone sharp. Emily built this from scratch. She's been in Seattle, 5 times? This is her deal. Victoria's smile didn't falter, but her eyes narrowed. Of course, Marcus. I'm simply elevating it for the C-suite. Apex deserves our best. My stomach twisted, a familiar knot of anxiety tightening. I'd seen this before colleagues sidelined, their work repackaged by someone with a shinier resume. But this was different. Apex was mine, a career-defining deal that could shift Horizon's trajectory. I cleared my throat, steadying my voice. Victoria, the deck is built around a customized solution I designed for Apex's supply chain. It's ready for their board. I'd be happy to walk you through the details. Her gaze met mine, cool and assessing. I'll need your notes by end of day, Emily. We can't risk any missteps with a $60 million contract. Marcus snorted, but I nodded, keeping my expression neutral. Inside, I was a storm of resolve and fear, determined to protect what I'd built. That night, I sat cross-legged on my apartment couch, journal open in my lap. Writing was my refuge, a way to untangle the day's chaos. This deal is everything, I wrote, my pen digging into the paper. 6 years of proving myself, of outworking the doubts, the sideways glances. Apex is my chance to show them, Richard, Victoria, all of them that results matter more than a fancy degree. I paused, thinking of my parents, who'd hung my diploma in their Columbus living room like it was a masterpiece. They'd raised me to believe hard work could bridge any gap, and I'd clung to that through every late-night email, every client meeting, Every moment I felt less than the Ivy League elite surrounding me. The next day, I drove to a local high school for our community outreach program, a project I'd started to inspire kids who, like me, didn't come from privilege. Standing before a room of wide-eyed teens, I shared how I turned data into solutions that kept goods moving across the country. Their questions curious, bold reminded me why I loved my work. "Did you always know you'd make it?" a girl asked. I smiled, my heart catching. "No. But I knew I'd try." That's enough to start. Their applause followed me out, a balm against the office's brewing conflict. Back at Horizon, the air felt heavier. Marcus caught me by the coffee machine, his voice low. "Victoria's gunning for your deal, Emily. She's been cozying up to Richard, talking about enterprise finesse. Watch your back." I nodded, my mind flashing to Lauren Mitchell. In college, we'd stayed up until dawn, her dreaming of leading a company, me sketching plans to conquer the tech world. Now, she was Apex's CEO, and I was her trusted partner. Our friendship wasn't the deal's foundation, but it was a spark that had grown into trust over months of collaboration. I'd never told anyone at Horizon about our history, not because it was a secret, but because my work spoke louder than any connection. As I returned to my cubicle, I opened my journal again, scribbling a single line. "This is my moment. No one's taking it away." The Apex deal was more than a contract. It was a testament to every door I'd pushed open, every doubt I'd silenced. Victoria's ambition loomed like a shadow, but I wasn't backing down. I'd fought too hard, flown too far, stayed up too late to let her repackage my victory. The storm was coming, and I was ready to stand in its center, unwavering, with my diploma on the wall and my heart on the line. Little did I know, the real battle was just beginning, and it would test everything I believed about loyalty, worth, and the power of results. The air in Horizon Systems' conference room felt charged, like the moment before a Texas thunderstorm breaks. I stood at the head of the glass table, my laptop projecting the Apex Logistics pitch deck I'd poured my soul into. Each slide was a testament to months of work. 5 trips to Seattle, countless late nights mapping Apex's supply chain, and a solution so precise it felt like poetry in code. At 34, I, Emily Harper, had clawed my way up from junior associate to business development manager at this Austin-based tech firm, and this $60 million deal was my chance to prove that results trumped pedigree. But as I clicked to the final slide, Victoria Langston's voice cut through the room, sharp and polished, like a blade wrapped in velvet. "Emily, this is a strong start," she said, leaning back in her chair, "but I've been tailoring the Apex strategy to fit their C-suite expectations. We need to elevate it." My heart stuttered, and the room went quiet, all eyes on me. Victoria Langston, Horizon's new vice president of sales, was a force of nature. Her Yale MBA hung over her like a halo, and her tailored blazers screamed a confidence I'd never known. She'd arrived 6 months ago, her ambition a tidal wave that reshaped our office's hierarchy. I didn't envy her rise, but I felt the weight of her gaze, the way she'd linger on my Ohio State diploma as if it were a curiosity, not a credential. This wasn't the first time she'd tried to claim my work. Smaller projects, client calls she'd swoop in, repackage my efforts, and present them as her own. But Apex was different. This was my deal, built on trust with Lauren Mitchell, Apex's CEO and my college roommate from Ohio State. I'd earned every inch of it, and I wasn't about to let it slip away. Marcus Reed, my colleague and staunchest ally, shifted in his seat, his rumpled blazer a stark contrast to Victoria's pristine suit. "Elevated?" he said, his voice low but edged with defiance. "Emily's been in Seattle 5 times, meeting with Apex's team, building this from the ground up. This isn't your strategy, Victoria. It's hers." The room held its breath. Victoria's smile tightened, her eyes flicking to Marcus, then back to me. "Marcus, I appreciate your enthusiasm," she said, her tone syrupy. "But a client of Apex's caliber requires a certain finesse. I'm ensuring we deliver that." My stomach twisted, a knot of anxiety I knew too well. This wasn't just about credit. It was about power, about who got to stand in the spotlight when the $60 million contract was signed. I took a deep breath, steadying myself. "Victoria," I said, my voice calm but firm, The pitch deck is built on a customized supply chain solution I designed for Apex's multimodal needs. It's tailored to their exact pain points, and their board has already given preliminary approval. I'm happy to share the details if you'd like to review them. Her gaze locked onto mine, cool and calculating, like a chess player sizing up an opponent. "I'll need your full notes by end of day, Emily," she replied, her smile not reaching her eyes. "We can't afford any missteps with a deal this size." Marcus snorted softly, but I nodded, keeping my expression neutral. Inside, I was a storm of resolve and fear, determined to protect what I'd built, but acutely aware of the odds stacked against me. That evening, I drove to Columbus, Ohio to visit my parents, needing their warmth to ground me. Their modest home was a sanctuary, filled with the smell of my mom's lasagna and the quiet pride of my dad's stories. In their living room, my Ohio State diploma hung proudly, framed in simple wood, a symbol of dreams they'd nurtured through years of sacrifice. Over dinner, I told them about the Apex deal, my voice catching as I described the late nights, the flights, the moments of doubt. "You've always been a fighter, Emily," my mom said, squeezing my hand. "They'll see what you're worth." My dad nodded, his eyes soft. "Your diploma's as good as anyone's. It's what you do with it that matters." Their words wrapped around me like a shield, fortifying me for the battle I knew was coming. Back in Austin, I threw myself into my community outreach program, a passion project that gave me purpose beyond the office's politics. At a local high school, I stood before a classroom of teens, their faces bright with curiosity. "Tech isn't just about code," I told them. "It's about solving problems, building trust, making things work better." A boy raised his hand. "What if you don't go to a fancy school?" he asked. I smiled, thinking of my own journey. "Then you work harder, learn faster, and let your results speak." That's what I did. Their applause echoed in my chest, a reminder that my value wasn't tied to Victoria's approval or Horizon's boardroom. But the office was a different world. The next morning, Marcus caught me by my cubicle, his voice urgent. "Victoria's been meeting with Richard Caldwell," he said, referring to our CEO. "She's pitching herself as the face of the Apex deal, saying you're not executive material. It's a power grab, Emily." My heart sank, but I forced a smile. "Let her try," I said, though doubt gnawed at me. Richard, with his Harvard ties and polished demeanor, had always favored those who mirrored his world. My cubicle, with its student thank you notes and modest diploma, felt like a rebellion against that elite culture, but it also made me vulnerable. That night, I opened my journal, my pen a lifeline to clarity. "Victoria wants the spotlight," I wrote, "but Apex isn't hers to claim. I've spent a year building this, earning Lauren's trust, crafting something real. I won't let her erase me." I thought of Lauren, our college nights spent dreaming big, her fierce loyalty a constant even now. Our friendship wasn't the deal's foundation, but it had opened a door, and I'd walked through with data, dedication, and results. Victoria didn't know that history, and neither did Horizon. They saw my state school roots and assumed I lacked the connections to matter. They were wrong. As I closed my journal, I felt a spark of defiance ignite. Victoria's ambition was a threat, but it was also a challenge, one I'd faced before. 6 years at Horizon had taught me to navigate skepticism, to prove myself over and over. The Apex deal was my proof, a beacon of what I could achieve. But as I looked at my diploma on the wall, I knew this fight was about more than one contract. It was about my place in a world that valued pedigree over performance, polish over purpose. The clash with Victoria was just the beginning, and I was ready to stand my ground, heart racing, with everything I'd built on the line. The summons came like a cold wind through my cubicle at Horizon Systems in Austin, Texas. An email from Richard Caldwell, our CEO, requested my presence at an executive meeting in the boardroom at 2 p.m. sharp. My heart thudded as I read it, my fingers pausing over the keyboard where I'd been fine-tuning the Apex Logistics pitch deck. At 34, I, Emily Harper, had spent 6 years climbing from junior associate to business development manager, and the $60 million, 5-year contract with Apex was the culmination of my grit. 5 trips to Seattle, countless late nights, and a solution crafted with precision had brought us to the brink of Horizon's biggest deal ever. But Victoria Langston's shadow loomed, her ambition a storm cloud over my work. As I smoothed my department store blazer and gathered my notes, I sensed this meeting wasn't about celebration. It was about power, and I was walking into a trap. The boardroom was a world apart from my modest cubicle, with its student thank you notes and Ohio State diploma. Floor-to-ceiling windows framed downtown Austin's skyline. The mahogany table gleamed under soft lighting, and the air carried a faint scent of lemon polish and authority. I took a seat at the far end, painfully aware of my place among the navy-suited executives, their Ivy League pedigrees as tangible as the leather portfolios before them. Richard Caldwell sat at the head, his steel-rimmed glasses reflecting the light, his expression unreadable. Victoria Langston, our newly promoted vice president of sales, sat to his right, her Yale MBA, a silent credential that seemed to fill the room. 3 other executives, all men, completed the circle, their faces a mix of indifference and curiosity. Richard began, his voice measured. "Emily, thank you for joining us. We're here to discuss the progress with Apex Logistics." I nodded, clutching my notes, a flicker of pride warming me. "We're in the final stages," I said, my voice steady. "Apex has verbally committed to the $60 million package, and we're set to sign next week. The solution addresses their entire supply chain, from multimodal logistics to IT integration." Richard leaned forward, fingers steepled. "Impressive work. This could be Horizon's largest contract to date." I allowed myself a small smile, thinking of the sleepless nights, the flights to Seattle, the trust I'd built with Lauren Mitchell, Apex's CEO and my college friend from Ohio State. But then Victoria spoke, her tone smooth as glass. "It's a strong foundation, Emily, but we're concerned about Apex's enterprise-level needs moving forward." My stomach dropped. I'd heard this script before, Victoria positioning herself to take over after I'd done the heavy lifting, but never with a deal this significant. "The proposal is built for their enterprise infrastructure," I countered, keeping my voice even. "It addresses every concern their IT team raised, with a scalable implementation plan." Victoria's smile was tight, her eyes cold. "Not just the technical side, Emily. The relationship management. A client of Apex's size requires a certain level of finesse, a presence that aligns with their C-suite expectations." The words hung in the air, sharp and deliberate. I felt the executives' glances, the weight of their unspoken agreement. They weren't questioning my work. They were questioning Memi State School roots, my lack of an elite degree, my very presence in their polished world. Richard's gaze flickered to Victoria, then back to me. "Emily, you've done excellent foundational work," he said, echoing Victoria's phrasing. "But as we grow, we need to project an image that matches our high-value clients. Victoria's experience with Fortune 500 accounts gives her an edge you simply don't have." The room seemed to shrink, the air heavy with betrayal. 6 years of loyalty, of outworking everyone, of landing the biggest deal in Horizon's history, and they were sidelining me because my diploma didn't glitter like Victoria's. "I've managed the Apex relationship for a year," I said carefully, my voice trembling with restrained anger. "Lauren Mitchell has specifically requested I oversee the implementation. She trusts me." Victoria's smile didn't waver. "Of course, Emily. No one's disputing your contribution. But we need our most experienced talent for the final negotiations and signing." The executives exchanged glances, their silence louder than words. Richard avoided my eyes, his fingers tapping the table. "Victoria will take point from here," he said finally. "You'll provide her with all your materials and brief her on the account." I stared at him, searching for a shred of the fairness I'd believed in when I joined Horizon. There was none, only the cold calculus of elitism. My work had brought us to the finish line, but Victoria's Yale polish would carry her across it. "Is there a concern with my performance?" I asked, my voice cutting through the room's discomfort. Richard hesitated, then shook his head. "Not at all. You've exceeded expectations. This is about the company's future, about aligning our team with our strategic vision." The words were a lie, and we all knew it. They wanted Victoria's credentials, her connections, her image, not my results. I nodded, my face a mask of professionalism, but inside I was reeling. As the meeting ended, I walked back to my cubicle, the weight of betrayal settling into my bones. Marcus was waiting, his face a storm of outrage. "They're giving her Apex?" he whispered. "After everything you've done?" I sank into my chair, staring at the thank you notes pinned to my cubicle wall. Gifts from the high school students I mentored. They think she's a better fit, I said, my voice hollow. Because of her degree, her finesse. That night, I opened my journal, my pen trembling as I wrote. They took my deal, my moment, because I'm not one of them. 6 years. And it's not enough. But I'm not done. Apex is mine, and I'll fight for it. I thought of Sarah, the junior colleague I'd been mentoring, her eager questions about client pitches, her trust in my guidance. I thought of my parents in Columbus, their pride in my Ohio State diploma, their belief that hard work could conquer anything. They were my anchor, my reminder that my worth wasn't tied to Horizon's boardroom. The next day, I met Sarah for coffee, her enthusiasm a balm against the sting of betrayal. "You're so good at this," she said, scribbling notes as I explained how to read a client's needs. "I want to be like you someday." I smiled, my heart aching but resolute. "You will," I told her. "Just keep learning, keep showing up, results matter." But as I drove home, Marcus's warning echoed. Victoria was meeting with Richard again, cementing her claim on Apex. The betrayal cut deeper than I'd expected, not just for the deal, but for what it revealed about Horizon. They valued pedigree over performance, polish over purpose. I'd given them everything: my time, my talent, my trust, and they discarded me without a second thought. But as I looked at my diploma, its frame catching the light, I felt a spark of defiance. This wasn't the end. It was a reckoning, and I was ready to face it, heart pounding, with my work and my worth on the line. The email arrived like a guillotine, its subject line stark and impersonal. Executive meeting, 3 p.m., urgent. My heart sank as I read it, sitting in my cubicle at Horizon Systems in Austin, Texas. At 34, I, Emily Harper, had poured 6 years into this company, rising from junior associate to business development manager through relentless effort. The $60 million, 5-year contract with Apex Logistics, a Seattle-based titan, was my crowning achievement, built on 5 trips across the country, late nights crafting a tailored supply chain solution, and a trust forged with their CEO, Lauren Mitchell, my college friend from Ohio State. But Victoria Langston, our Yale-educated vice president of sales, had already begun to claim my work, and the executive boardroom's decision to let her lead the final negotiations had left a wound that hadn't stopped bleeding. As I adjusted my department store blazer and glanced at my Ohio State diploma on the cubicle wall, I knew this meeting wasn't about the Apex deal. It was about me, and it was going to hurt. The boardroom was as intimidating as ever, its mahogany table reflecting the Austin skyline through towering windows, the air thick with the scent of polish and power. Richard Caldwell, Horizon's CEO, sat at the head, his steel-rimmed glasses a barrier to his emotions. Victoria Langston sat beside him, her tailored suit pristine, her portfolio open like a weapon. A woman from HR, whose name I barely knew, sat across from me, a manila folder in front of her chair. The other executives, all men in identical navy suits, avoided my gaze. I took my seat at the table's far end, my notes clutched like a shield, feeling the weight of being the only one without an Ivy League degree in a room that worshipped them. Richard cleared his throat, his voice corporate and cold. "Emily, thank you for your contributions to Horizon Systems," he began. "As you know, we're constantly evaluating our structure to position ourselves for growth." The words hung in the air, heavy with finality. My pulse quickened, but I stayed silent, waiting for the blow. Richard continued, his eyes fixed on the table. "We've decided to restructure the business development department, effective immediately. Unfortunately, your position has been eliminated." The room spun, the words slicing through 6 years of loyalty, of weekends sacrificed, of a deal that could redefine Horizon's future. Eliminated. A euphemism for betrayal, for discarding me days before the Apex contract was set to be signed. Victoria shifted in her seat, her discomfort fleeting but visible. The HR woman slid the manila folder toward me, her voice mechanical. "All the details are here: a 3-month severance package, benefits, and a letter of recommendation. We'll need your badge and laptop before you leave today." I stared at the folder, my hands trembling. 3 months' pay for 6 years of my life. For landing a $60 million deal. May I ask why now? I said, my voice steadier than I felt. Days before closing the largest contract in company history, Richard's jaw tightened, but he met my gaze. This isn't about Apex, Emily. It's about our long-term strategic direction. We need to elevate our team's credentials for enterprise clients. The lie was palpable, and I couldn't hold back. You mean you need people with fancier diplomas? I said flatly, my eyes flicking to Victoria's Yale portfolio. I've given you results, not just with Apex, but for years, and you're firing me because my degree's from Ohio State, not Harvard. The room went still, the executives shifting uncomfortably. Richard's voice softened, but it was hollow. It's about the image we project, Emily. You've been exceptional, but Victoria's enterprise experience is what we need moving forward. The betrayal burned, a fire in my chest that threatened to consume me. I looked at each face Richard's calculated neutrality, Victoria's forced composure, the HR woman's detachment searching for a shred of regret, of recognition for what I'd built. There was none, only the discomfort of an unpleasant task they wanted to be done with. I stood, gathering my notes with a dignity I barely felt. Thank you for the opportunity, I said, my voice calm but laced with bitterness. No tears, no outburst, no begging. I took the folder, nodded, and walked out, the boardroom door closing behind me like a chapter slammed shut. Back at my cubicle, I began packing, my hands moving on autopilot. Marcus Reed hovered nearby, his face a mask of fury and sympathy. This is insane, Emily, he said, his voice low. You landed a $60 million deal, and they fire you? You should fight this. I carefully wrapped my Ohio State diploma in tissue paper, its frame a reminder of my parents' pride in Columbus. It's done, Marcus, I said, though my heart screamed otherwise. They've made their choice. As I packed the thank you notes from my high school outreach program, I thought of Sarah, the junior colleague I'd been mentoring, her eager questions about client trust. I'd have to tell her I was leaving, and the thought ached. That evening, I attended a Women in Tech meetup in Austin, seeking solace in a community that valued grit over glamour. Over coffee, I shared my story, my voice breaking as I described the boardroom's cold dismissal. The women listened, their nods and stories of similar betrayals a lifeline. You're more than their decision, one said, her words a spark in the darkness. Back home, I opened my journal, my pen a release for the storm inside. They threw me away, I wrote, because I don't fit their mold. 6 years, a $60 million deal, and it's not enough. But I'm not broken. I'm angry, and I'm going to rise. The words felt like a vow, a promise to myself that this wasn't the end. I thought of my parents, their Columbus living room where my diploma hung like a beacon. I thought of Lauren Mitchell, my college friend who trusted me to deliver for Apex. I hadn't told her about Victoria's takeover, and I didn't plan to tell her about this. Not yet. Let Horizon face the consequences of their elitism. As I closed my journal, I felt a strange calm settle over me, a clarity born of pain. The final straw had fallen, but it hadn't crushed me. It had freed me, exposing Horizon's true colors and igniting a fire I hadn't known I carried. I didn't know what came next, but I knew I'd face it with the same resolve that had carried me through 6 years, 5 flights to Seattle, and a deal that should have been my triumph. The fight wasn't over. It was just beginning, and I was ready, heart pounding, with my worth intact and my eyes on the horizon. The morning sun filtered through my apartment window in Austin, Texas, casting soft light on the cardboard box that held the remnants of my 6 years at Horizon Systems. At 34, I, Emily Harper, was no longer a business development manager, no longer the architect of the $60 million, 5-year Apex logistics deal that should have been my triumph. Fired days before the contract signing, I'd packed my Ohio State diploma, my student thank you notes, and my pride, leaving behind a company that valued Victoria Langston's Yale polish over my results. The sting of betrayal still burned, but as I sipped coffee in yoga pants, scrolling through job listings, my phone buzzed with a text from Lauren Mitchell, Apex's CEO, and my college friend from Ohio State. Heading into the Lion's Den, she wrote, "Wish you were here. Brunch this weekend to celebrate?" I smiled, typing back, "Absolutely. Good luck. Call me after." I didn't tell her I wouldn't be at the signing. Not yet. Let Horizon face the consequences of their choice. I'd spent the weekend wrestling with that decision, my journal filled with raw, jagged entries. They threw me away. I'd written, "But Lauren trusts me. She'll see through their lies." I hadn't warned her about my termination, a choice that felt both strategic and heavy. Part of me wanted to protect our friendship from the mess of Horizon's politics. Part of me wanted Richard Caldwell, our CEO, and Victoria to squirm. As I set my phone down, I thought of our college days, when Lauren and I shared a cramped Columbus apartment, splitting ramen and pulling all-nighters. One night, when her mom was sick, I'd stayed up with her, listening as she cried, promising we'd conquer the world together. That bond, forged in vulnerability, had grown into professional trust over 5 trips to Seattle, where I'd built a supply chain solution that fit Apex like a glove. Horizon didn't know that history, and their ignorance was about to cost them. At 10:15 a.m., my phone rang, Marcus Reed's name flashing on the screen. My former colleague's voice was electric with disbelief. "Emily, you won't believe what just happened," he said the moment I answered. Lauren Mitchell walked into the conference room, looked around, and the first thing she said was, "Where's Emily?" My heart leapt, a mix of vindication and guilt. "What did they say?" I asked, setting down my mug. Marcus's words tumbled out. "Victoria tried to explain you were no longer with the company, all smooth and corporate, but Lauren cut her off. She said, 'If Emily's not involved, we need to revisit this contract immediately.'" It was like a bomb went off. I closed my eyes, picturing the scene. Victoria's polished smile faltering, Richard's steel-rimmed glasses hiding his panic, the gleaming Austin boardroom turning into a battlefield. Marcus continued, his voice rising. "Richard jumped in, talking about team approaches and valuing your contribution. But it was nonsense. Lauren wasn't buying it. She said you were the reason Apex chose Horizon, that your solution and your trust made the deal. She's in Richard's office now, and it's chaos. Victoria's practically melting down, calling legal to see if they can force Apex to honor the verbal agreement." I laughed, a sharp, bittersweet sound. "They can't," I said simply. I'd ensured no formal contract was signed before my exit, a quiet act of foresight born of distrust. "How did you know this would happen?" Marcus asked, awe creeping into his tone. I hesitated, then gave him the truth. "Lauren was my roommate at Ohio State. We've been friends for over a decade. She trusts me, and I earned it." The confession felt like shedding a weight. Horizon had never asked about my connections, too busy dismissing my state school roots to imagine I might know someone like Lauren. As Marcus described the Fallout executives scrambling, Victoria's voice cracking, I felt a flicker of satisfaction, tempered by a pang of guilt. Lauren was fighting for me, and I hadn't warned her. To clear my head, I drove to an industry conference in downtown Austin, a last-minute decision to reconnect with peers. The ballroom buzzed with tech professionals, and as I mingled, I was surprised by how many knew my name. "You're the one landing Apex for Horizon," a woman said, shaking my hand. "That's huge." I smiled, deflecting the praise. But their respect was a balm, a reminder that my work had ripples beyond Horizon's betrayal. That afternoon, I opened my journal, my pen a lifeline to clarity. "Lauren stood up for me," I wrote, "and it's breaking them. I should have told her, but maybe this is how it had to be. Horizon needs to see what they lost." I thought of our college nights, when Lauren's ambition had inspired me to dream bigger. One memory stood out. A snowy evening in Columbus, when we'd walked across campus, her arm linked with mine, vowing to prove the world wrong. She'd kept that vow, rising to Apex's helm, and I'd kept mine, building a deal that should have been my legacy. Now, she was honoring our bond, and it felt like a gift I didn't deserve but couldn't refuse. My phone buzzed again, another text from Lauren. "These people are unbelievable. They let you go? I'm furious. Call me ASAP." My heart swelled with gratitude, but I waited, letting the moment breathe. When I called her back, her voice was a mix of anger and warmth. "Emily, what the hell happened? Why didn't you tell me?" I sighed, the truth spilling out. "I wanted to see if they'd own it or hide it. I needed to know who they really are." Lauren's laugh was sharp. "Oh, They tried to spin some garbage about restructuring, but I saw through it. The arrogance? Acting like I wouldn't notice you were gone. I swallowed, my voice soft. Thank you for standing up for me. You didn't have to. Of course I did, she said fiercely. You're why we picked Horizon. Your solution, your trust it's not the best on the market, but you made it ours. I hung up, my eyes stinging. Lauren's loyalty was a mirror, reflecting my worth when Horizon had tried to erase it. But as I sat in my quiet apartment, the conference's energy still humming in my veins, I felt something shift. This wasn't just about vindication, it was about what came next. Horizon was crumbling, their boardroom a house of cards collapsing under Lauren's stand. I hadn't planned this, but I'd set the stage, ensuring no contract bound Apex before my exit. Now, as I looked at my PAC diploma, its frame a symbol of my roots, I felt a spark of possibility. The client's stand had exposed Horizon's mistake, but it had also freed me to build something new. The fight was far from over, and I was ready, heart racing, with Lauren's trust and my own resilience lighting the way. The weight of Horizon Systems' betrayal lingered like a bruise, tender and raw, as I sat in my Austin, Texas apartment, staring at the cardboard box that held my Ohio State diploma and 6 years of my life. At 34, I, Emily Harper, had been discarded by a company I'd given everything to, fired days before the $60 million Apex Logistics Deal Me deal was set to be signed. Victoria Langston, with her Yale MBA and polished ambition, had claimed my work, and CEO Richard Caldwell had endorsed her, prioritizing pedigree over my results. But Lauren Mitchell, Apex's CEO and my college friend from Ohio State, had upended their plans, halting the contract signing when she learned I was gone. Her fierce loyalty, born of late-night college talks in Columbus, had exposed Horizon's mistake, leaving them scrambling. Now, as I faced an uncertain future, my phone buzzed with a call from Lauren, her voice a lifeline through the fog. "Emily, we need to talk," she said, her tone sharp with purpose. "This isn't over." I leaned back on my couch, the morning light soft on my face, and listened as Lauren's words painted a new possibility. "Horizon's a mess," she said, her anger palpable. "They thought they could swap you out like you didn't matter. But you're the reason Apex trusted them. I'm done with their games." She paused. Then her voice softened. "There's someone you need to meet. Nathan Carter, CEO of Carter Innovations, a competitor in Seattle. He's been trying to get a meeting with me for months, and he's looking for someone like you, someone who knows logistics, builds trust, delivers results." My heart quickened, a spark of hope igniting. "You're setting me up with a job?" I asked, half laughing, half disbelieving. "I'm setting you up to win," Lauren replied. "Nathan's different. He values what you bring. Meet him, Emily. See what happens." The idea felt like a leap across a chasm, exhilarating and terrifying. Horizon had been my world, its cubicle walls and late-night emails the scaffolding of my career. To leave it behind, to start anew, meant letting go of the resentment that tethered me to their betrayal. That evening, I pulled out a corkboard and began creating a vision board, a ritual to reclaim my dreams. I pinned phrases like "lead with purpose" and "build a legacy" alongside a photo of my parents in Columbus, their pride a constant anchor. As I stepped back, the board felt like a map, guiding me toward a future I could shape. Lauren's call had cracked open a door, and I was ready to walk through, even if my knees trembled. 2 days later, I flew to Seattle, the city where I'd built the Apex deal through 5 visits and countless conversations. Nathan Carter met me at a cozy cafe near Pike Place Market, the scent of coffee and sea air grounding me. He was younger than I'd expected, barely 40, with the restless energy of someone who'd built something from nothing. "Lauren speaks highly of you," he said, his handshake firm, his eyes curious. "Says you're the most client-focused person she's worked with." I smiled, nerves fading. "I believe in relationships over transactions," I said. "Technology changes, but trust is constant." Over the next hour, we talked logistics, software, client needs, and my vision for growth. Unlike Horizon's interviews, Nathan never asked about my degree. He cared about my results, my approach, my 5 trips to win Apex's trust. Then he leaned forward, his voice direct. "I'll be blunt, Emily. Carter Innovations is smaller than Horizon, but we're growing fast. Our tech is better cloud native, adaptable, user-friendly. What we need is someone to get us in front of enterprise clients. Someone like you." He paused, then smiled. "I want to offer you our business development director role, reporting to me. Full autonomy over your strategy, equity in the company, and a salary that'll make Horizon's best offer look like pocket change." My breath caught, the weight of his words sinking in. It was more than a job. It was a chance to rebuild, to lead, to prove Horizon wrong. But doubt lingered. Could I leave the familiar, even a place that had hurt me? Could I trust again? That night, I spoke at a Women in Tech meetup in Seattle. A last-minute invitation from a conference contact. Standing before a room of women, I shared my story, not the firing, but the passion behind my work, the joy of solving clients' problems. "It's not about where you start," I told them, thinking of my Ohio State roots. "It's about showing up, every day, with purpose." Their applause washed over me. A reminder of my worth beyond Horizon's boardroom. Afterward, a young woman approached, her eyes bright. "You make me believe I can do this," she said. I hugged her, my heart full. Inspiring others felt like reclaiming a piece of myself, a piece Horizon couldn't touch. Back in my hotel room, I opened my journal, my pen, a compass for my thoughts. "Nathan's offer is a door," I wrote, "but it's also a mirror. It shows me what I'm worth, what Lauren sees, what Horizon refused to. I'm scared, but I'm ready." I thought of my parents, their Columbus home where my diploma hung, their belief that hard work could outshine any obstacle. I thought of Lauren, her college dreams now a reality, her loyalty a gift that had opened this path. The next morning, I called Nathan. "I'm in," I said, my voice steady, a smile breaking through. "Let's build something great." His laugh was warm. "Welcome to Carter, Emily. This is just the start." As I flew back to Austin, the clouds outside my window felt like a canvas, vast and open. Horizon's betrayal had shattered my trust, but it had also freed me. Lauren's stand had exposed their mistake, and Nathan's offer had shown me my value. I thought of my vision board, its pinned dreams now within reach. I thought of Sarah, my mentee at Horizon, who I'd need to tell I was moving on, hoping she'd understand. Most of all, I thought of myself, not the Emily who'd walked into Horizon's boardroom, but the one emerging now, stronger, clearer, ready to lead. Carter Innovations was a blank page, and I was ready to write a new chapter, one where my results, not my degree, defined me. The plane descended into Austin, the city's lights a promise of home. My phone buzzed with a text from Lauren. "Heard you met Nathan. Told you he's the real deal. Call me, you're celebrating soon." I smiled, my heart lighter than it had been in weeks. A new path had emerged. Not just a job, but a chance to redefine success on my terms. Horizon had tried to erase me, but they'd only pushed me toward something better. As I stepped off the plane, my vision board's words echoed. Lead with purpose. Build a legacy. I was ready, heart soaring, with a future that was mine to shape and a fire that no betrayal could extinguish. The Seattle skyline gleamed through the conference room windows at Carter Innovations, a beacon of possibility that felt worlds away from the sterile boardroom of Horizon Systems in Austin, Texas. At 34, I, Emily Harper, stood at a new crossroads, no longer the discarded business development manager who'd been fired days before Horizon's $60 million Apex Logistics deal was set to close. That betrayal by CEO Richard Caldwell and Vice President Victoria Langston, who'd prized her Yale MBA over my Ohio State grit, had nearly broken me. But Lauren Mitchell, Apex's CEO and my college friend from Ohio State, had halted Horizon's signing when she learned I was gone, exposing their elitist mistake. Now, as Carter's new business development director, I was ready to reclaim my victory. With Nathan Carter's trust and a superior cloud-native platform, I was preparing to pitch Apex again, not just to win a contract, but to prove Horizon wrong. This was my counterstrike, and my heart pounded with purpose. The past week had been a whirlwind. Accepting Nathan's offer had felt like stepping into sunlight after a storm, his belief in my results over my resume a stark contrast to Horizon's betrayal. I'd spent days diving into Carter's technology, its adaptability and user-friendly interface a leap beyond Horizon's clunky software. My vision board, pinned with dreams of lead with purpose and build a legacy, sat in my Austin apartment, a daily reminder of why I'd said yes. But the Apex pitch was personal. I'd built their original solution through 5 Seattle trips, late nights, and a trust with Lauren that Horizon had underestimated. Now, I was rewriting that story. Not for revenge, but for redemption. For the Emily who'd packed her Ohio State diploma and walked away with dignity. The pitch day arrived, and I stood in Carter's sleek conference room, my slides polished but my nerves alive. Lauren entered, her smile warm but professional, our college bond a quiet undercurrent to the stakes. "Good to see you, Emily," she said, her handshake firm. "Let's see what Carter's got." I nodded, my voice steady as I began. "Apex needs a supply chain solution that's not just functional, but transformative," I said, clicking to a demo of Carter's platform. "This is cloud-native, scalable, with a UI your team will love. It's built for your multimodal needs, with real-time analytics Horizon can't match." Lauren's team leaned forward, their questions sharp but engaged. I answered with the confidence of someone who'd lived their challenges. My 5 trips to Seattle, a foundation Horizon could never replicate. 2 hours later, we shook hands on a $55 million, 5-year deals lightly less than Horizon's offer, but with technology and support that outshone it. Lauren pulled me aside, her voice low. "This is better, Emily. You made it ours." My chest swelled with pride, not just for the contract, but for what it meant. I'd taken Horizon's betrayal and turned it into triumph, proving my worth on my terms. As I flew back to Austin, my phone buzzed with calls from industry contacts, news of the Apex deal spreading like wildfire. Clients who'd once dismissed Carter were now curious, my counterstrike rippling beyond Seattle. Back at Carter, I organized a team-building retreat in the Texas Hill Country, a chance to forge bonds with my new colleagues. Over campfire stories and strategy sessions, I shared my Horizon experience, not with bitterness, but as a lesson in resilience. "We're here to deliver results," I told them, "the stars above us bright. That's what clients trust." My team nodded, their energy infectious, and I felt a spark of leadership I'd never known at Horizon. I thought of Sarah, my mentee from Horizon, whom I'd called to share my move. "You're inspiring me," she'd said, her voice bright. "I want to learn from you." I promised to mentor her, even from afar, passing on the lessons Horizon had taught me the hard way. Then Horizon called. First Richard, then Victoria, their voicemails a mix of panic and forced politeness. "Emily, we need to discuss Apex," Richard said, his tone strained. "There's been a misunderstanding. We'd like you back to oversee the implementation." I deleted the messages, my heart calm but resolute. They'd fired me for my lack of an Ivy League degree, handed my deal to Victoria, and now faced the consequences of Lauren's stand. When Richard called a 4th time, I answered, my voice cool. "There's no misunderstanding, Richard." Lauren was clear. "I'm why Apex chose Horizon. You made your choice, and I've made mine." His pause was heavy, his voice desperate. "Name your terms, Emily. Whatever you want." I laughed softly, the sound sharp with clarity. "I want respect, Richard. You can't offer that." Hanging up, I felt a weight lift. Horizon's pleas were a mirror, reflecting their failure to value what I'd built. I opened my journal, my pen a release for the day's emotions. "This isn't revenge," I wrote. "It's justice. I won Apex for Carter, not to hurt Horizon, but to show what I'm worth. I'm building something new, and it's mine." I thought of my parents in Columbus, their pride in my diploma, their belief that hard work trumped elitism. I thought of Lauren, our college nights dreaming big, her loyalty a gift that had opened this path. I thought of my team, their trust a foundation for the legacy I was crafting. The retreat's final day included a mentorship session, where I paired with a new hire, echoing my work with Sarah. "Clients want solutions, not promises," I told her, her notebook filling with my words. Her gratitude reminded me why I'd chosen Carter. To lead, to inspire, to deliver. As I drove back to Austin, my phone buzzed with a text from Lauren. "Apex is thrilled. You're killing it. Brunch soon?" I smiled, typing back, "Count me in." The city's lights welcomed me home, a canvas for the future I was painting. Horizon's boardroom had tried to define me, but I'd rewritten the story, not with anger, but with results. The Apex deal was more than a contract. It was a declaration. I'd taken Horizon's betrayal and turned it into a counterstrike, not to destroy, but to create. Carter Innovations was my new home, its open culture a stark contrast to Horizon's elitism. My team was growing, my vision board's dreams coming to life. I thought of my parents, their Columbus home a touchstone of my roots. I thought of Sarah, her potential a spark I'd nurture. Most of all, I thought of myself, the Emily who'd walked out of Horizon with her head high, now standing taller, leading bolder. The counterstrike had landed, and as I looked to the horizon, I knew this was only the beginning, my heart soaring with a purpose no one could take away. The Austin skyline shimmered outside my new office at Carter Innovations, a symbol of the fresh start I'd carved from the ashes of Horizon Systems' betrayal. At 34, I, Emily Harper, had transformed from a discarded business development manager to a driving force at Carter, where I'd secured a $55 million, 5-year deal with Apex Logistics, outshining the $60 million contract Horizon had lost. That deal, my deal, had been stolen by Victoria Langston's Yale-polished ambition and endorsed by CEO Richard Caldwell's elitism, only to unravel when Lauren Mitchell, Apex's CEO and my Ohio State college friend, refused to sign without me. Now, 3 months into my role at Carter, I stood at the helm of a growing team. My vision board's dreams lead with purpose. Build a legacy, coming to life. But as Horizon's collapse echoed through the industry, I felt a complex tide of vindication, empathy, and resolve, a reminder that success wasn't just about winning but about who I became along the way. The news broke on a Monday morning, a LinkedIn message from Marcus Reed, my loyal former colleague at Horizon. "Victoria was let go," he wrote, his words blunt. "Board cited the Apex disaster and failure to retain key talent. Thought you'd want to know." I sat back in my chair, the hum of Carter's open plan office fading. A flicker of satisfaction sparked, but it was quickly tempered by concern for the team I'd left behind. Marcus's next message painted a grim picture. Horizon's stock had plummeted 30% since Apex signed with Carter. Rumors of layoffs swirled, and morale was in tatters. I didn't celebrate. Instead, I wrote back, "How are you holding up?" His reply was swift. "Tense. Thinking of jumping ship. Got any openings?" I smiled, typing, "Carter values results over pedigree. Let's talk." 2 weeks later, Marcus joined my team, his rumpled blazer and fierce loyalty a welcome addition. He wasn't alone. Over the next month, 3 other Horizon talents followed, drawn by Carter's innovative culture and my growing reputation. My team swelled to 20, a diverse mix of backgrounds united by their drive and client focus. I'd made it a point to hire beyond resumes, seeking those who, like me, had been overlooked for lacking Ivy League shine. Leading them felt like a privilege, a chance to build the kind of team Horizon never could. To foster trust, I launched a mentorship program, pairing senior staff with new hires. During one session, I worked with a young engineer, her questions about client pitches echoing Sarah, my Horizon mentee. "You make it sound so possible," she said, her notebook full. I smiled, thinking of Sarah's potential. "It is," I told her. "Show up, deliver, and the rest follows." Horizon's downfall accelerated. Industry headlines reported Richard Caldwell's resignation as CEO, replaced by a caretaker executive as the company sought a buyer. 4 consecutive quarters of declining revenue had gutted their market share, the Apex loss a wound that never healed. I read the news in my office, my Ohio State diploma now hanging proudly on the wall, its frame catching the light. I felt no joy, only a quiet vindication. Horizon had fired me for my state school roots, handed my deal to Victoria, and paid the price when Lauren's loyalty exposed their mistake. Their boardroom, once a temple of elitism, was now a cautionary tale whispered at industry conferences. One such conference, a national tech summit in San Francisco, became a turning point. I was invited to speak on a panel about client trust, my Apex success a draw for attendees. Standing before a packed room, I shared my story, not the betrayal, but the power of relationships. Clients don't care about your degree, I said, my voice steady. They care about solutions, about trust you earn through results. The applause was thunderous, and afterward, executives approached, their business cards a testament to Carter's rising star. You're the one who flipped Apex, one said, shaking my hand. We need to talk. I nodded, my heart swelling. Horizon's loss had amplified my voice, and I was using it to build something better. Back in Austin, I journaled late into the night, my pen a bridge to clarity. Horizon's falling, and I'm rising, I wrote. But it's not about their failure. It's about what I'm creating: a team, a culture, a legacy. I thought of my parents in Columbus, their pride in my diploma, a constant anchor. I'd called them after the conference, their voices warm with awe. You're showing them, Emily, my mom said. Not by tearing them down, but by building up. Her words stayed with me, a reminder that success was sweetest when it lifted others. I thought of Lauren, our college nights dreaming big, her stand for me a gift that had changed everything. I thought of Marcus, now thriving at Carter, his gratitude a mirror of my own. Yet empathy lingered. Horizon's collapse meant uncertainty for colleagues I'd respected, people who'd had no say in Richard's decisions. I reached out to Sarah, my former mentee, inviting her to apply at Carter. You'd fit here, I told her, picturing her eager notes. We value what you do, not where you're from. She hesitated, loyal to Horizon, but promised to think about it. Her doubt reminded me of my own, the fear of leaving a familiar cage. I didn't push, trusting she'd find her path, just as I had. The mentorship program grew, becoming a cornerstone of Carter's culture. During a session, I shared a lesson from my Horizon days. Never let someone's bias define you. Your work is your truth. My team listened, their nods a quiet pact. I thought of the high school students from my Austin outreach program, their thank you notes now pinned in my office, a reminder of why I led. I wasn't just building contracts, I was building belief in my team, in myself, in a world where results mattered more than pedigree. As I left the office one evening, the Austin skyline glowed, a canvas of possibility. Horizon's fallout was a distant echo, their boardroom a memory I no longer carried. Carter was my home, its open desks and collaborative hum, a contrast to Horizon's cold hierarchy. My team was my legacy, their diversity, my strength. I opened my journal, writing, "The fallout isn't theirs alone. It's mine, to a chance to let go of anger and build with purpose." I thought of my parents, their Columbus home a touchstone. I thought of Lauren, our brunch plans, a promise of celebration. Most of all, I thought of myself, the Emily who'd walked out of Horizon with her head high, now leading with her heart open. The fallout had cleared the way for something greater, and I was ready, soul alight, to shape a future where worth was measured by what you did, not who you knew. The Austin sun poured through the windows of Carter Innovations, casting a warm glow on the team I'd built over the past year. At 34, I, Emily Harper, stood at the pinnacle of a journey that had begun with betrayal and blossomed into triumph. Horizon Systems, my former employer, had fired me days before their $60 million Apex Logistics deal was set to close, deeming my Ohio State diploma inferior to Victoria Langston's Yale MBA. But Lauren Mitchell, Apex's CEO and my college friend from Ohio State, had halted their signing, exposing their elitist mistake. Joining Carter Innovations as business development director, I'd secured a $55 million Apex deal, outshining Horizon and sparking a wave of new clients. Now, as I led a team of 20, Horizon's collapse echoed in the industry, their stock down 30%, their CEO gone, their legacy crumbling. At Carter, I was crafting a different story, one of purpose, results, and a legacy that lifted others. Today, that story was about to take a new turn, one that would redefine my path and my heart. The morning began with a team meeting. My staff gathered around a conference table, their diverse faces reflecting the culture I'd fought for. We reviewed our latest wins. 3 major clients, all former Horizon accounts, drawn by our cloud-native technology and my reputation. "This is what trust looks like," I told them, pointing to a chart of our growth. "You've earned it." Their smiles were my reward, a reminder of why I'd chosen Carter over Horizon's desperate pleas to return. After the meeting, Nathan Carter, our CEO, pulled me aside, his grin hinting at something big. "Got a minute?" he asked, leading me to his office. On his desk was a folder, its contents a spark that would ignite my future. Nathan slid the folder toward me, his voice warm but direct. "Emily, this is a press release draft. Read it." I opened it, my breath catching at the headline. Carter Innovations names Emily Harper Chief Revenue Officer. My eyes scanned the words effective immediately. Transformative impact. Industry leader, and my heart raced. "Nathan, I don't know what to say." I managed, my voice thick with emotion. He leaned back, his smile wide. "Say yes. You've earned it. You've rebuilt our sales organization, brought in top talent, and landed clients we couldn't touch before. This is your moment." I laughed, tears prickling my eyes. Yes, absolutely yes. The promotion wasn't just a title, it was a testament to everything I'd overcome, a crown forged from the ashes of Horizon's betrayal. As I left Nathan's office, I felt lighter, as if the weight of 6 years at Horizon had finally lifted. Carter had surpassed Horizon in market share, our growth fueled by a team that valued results over pedigree. I hosted a team celebration that evening, renting a rooftop venue overlooking Austin's skyline. Over music and laughter, I raised a glass. "To you," I said, my voice carrying over the crowd. "You're why we're here, why we're winning. Thank you." Their cheers echoed, a chorus of trust that warmed me deeper than any contract. Marcus Reed, my former Horizon colleague now thriving at Carter, clapped my shoulder. "You did this, Emily," he said. "You built something real." I smiled, thinking of Sarah, my Horizon mentee, who'd just joined us, her eager questions a spark I'd nurture. The next day, I launched a scholarship fund for non-Ivy League students pursuing tech careers, a dream I'd pinned to my vision board months ago. Standing before a small crowd at a local high school, I announced the Emily Harper Scholarship, my voice steady but full of heart. "This is for those who've been told they're not enough," I said, thinking of my own Ohio State journey. "Your work, your grit, your results, they matter." The students' applause was a ripple of hope, a promise to pay forward the belief my parents had instilled in me. That weekend, I drove to Columbus to visit them, their modest home a sanctuary of love. Over homemade pie, my mom hugged me, her eyes wet. "You're making us so proud," she said. My dad toasted with coffee, his grin wide. "That's my girl, showing the world." Their pride grounded me, a reminder that success was sweetest when shared. Back in Austin, I opened my journal, its pages a map of my journey. "Chief Revenue Officer," I wrote. The words surreal. Horizon tried to break me, but they only made me stronger. This isn't about them. It's about my team, my purpose, my legacy. I flipped through older entries, from the raw pain of my firing to the spark of joining Carter, each page a step toward this moment. I thought of Lauren, our college nights in Columbus dreaming big, her stand for me a turning point. I thought of my high school outreach, the students whose notes lined my office, their dreams now tied to my scholarship. I thought of my team, their diversity, my strength, their trust, my foundation. The scholarship launch led to an invitation to speak at a Women in Tech Summit in Austin, where I shared my story. "Betrayal hurts," I told the crowd, "but it's also a chance to rebuild, to choose who you'll become." A young woman approached afterward, her voice trembling. "I'm from a state school too. You give me hope." I hugged her, my heart full. Inspiring others was my true legacy, a light that outshone Horizon's collapse. I thought of Sarah, now learning Carter's ropes, her potential a mirror of my own a decade ago. I'd mentor her, just as I'd mentored others, passing on lessons of resilience and results. As I walked through Carter's office, my Ohio State diploma now in a corner suite, I felt a profound gratitude. Horizon's boardroom had tried to define me, but I'd redefined myself, not with anger but with action. Carter was thriving, our clients growing, our culture a beacon for those who'd been overlooked. I journaled one final thought. Rising to the top isn't about the title. It's about the lives you touch, the doors you open. I thought of my parents, their Columbus home a touchstone. I thought of Lauren, our brunch plans a promise of friendship. Most of all, I thought of myself, the Emily who'd walked out of Horizon with her head high, now standing at the summit, heart open, leading with purpose. The Austin skyline glowed as I left the office, a canvas of dreams realized. My scholarship, my team, my promotion, they were threads in a tapestry I was weaving, one where worth was measured by what you built, not where you started. Horizon's fallout had cleared the way, but Carter's rise was my story, written with every client won, every mentee inspired, every student lifted. I was rising to the top, not just for me, but for everyone who'd ever been told they weren't enough. And as I looked to the future, I knew this was only the beginning, my soul alight with a legacy that would endure. The corner office at Carter Innovations in Austin, Texas, was more than a space. It was a testament to a journey that had carried me, Emily Harper, from the ashes of betrayal to the heights of purpose. At 34, I stood as Chief Revenue Officer, a title earned through grit, results, and a refusal to be defined by Horizon Systems elitism. A year ago, Horizon had fired me days before their $60 million Apex Logistics deal was set to close, favoring Victoria Langston's Yale MBA over my Ohio State diploma. But Lauren Mitchell, Apex's CEO and my college friend from Ohio State, had halted their signing, exposing their mistake. Joining Carter, I'd secured a $55 million Apex deal, built a thriving team, and watched Horizon crumble, stock down 30%, CEO gone, company for sale. Now, as Carter led the industry, my office's walls held my Ohio State diploma, student thank you notes, and a vision board that had guided me here. This was my legacy, forged not in vengeance but in purpose, and as I looked out at the Austin skyline, I felt a profound peace, a certainty that success was about who I lifted along the way. The morning began with a visit to my old high school in Austin, where I'd been invited to speak at Career Day. Standing before a room of teenagers, their eyes wide with curiosity, I shared my story, not the polished version, but the raw truth. I was fired from a job I loved because my degree wasn't fancy enough, I said, my voice steady but warm. But I didn't let that define me. I built something better, not for me, but for the people I serve, clients, teams, you. A girl raised her hand, her voice shy. How do you keep going when it's hard? I smiled, thinking of my parents in Columbus, their pride in my diploma, a constant anchor. You find your why, I told her. For me, it's making a difference. Proving that where you start doesn't dictate where you finish. Their applause followed me out. A ripple of hope that felt like the heart of my legacy. Back at Carter, the office hummed with energy, our team of 25 driving innovation in supply chain software. We'd landed 3 more flagship clients, each drawn by our technology and my reputation, a far cry from Horizon's fading star. I'd built a culture where results trumped pedigree, where diversity was strength. Marcus Reed, my former Horizon colleague, thrived here, his loyalty a mirror of my own. Sarah, my Horizon mentee, had joined us, her eager questions now shaping our pitches. During a mentorship session, I watched her present a client strategy, her confidence blooming. You taught me this, she said later, her smile bright. I hugged her, my heart full. Passing on my lessons, resilience, trust, results, was a legacy deeper than any contract. That afternoon, I wrote a blog post for Carter's website, titled, Resilience Redefined. I poured my journey into it. Horizon's betrayal, Lauren's stand, Carter's rise. Success isn't a title or a degree, I wrote. It's the lives you touch, the barriers you break. I posted it, expecting a few likes from colleagues. By evening, it had gone viral, shared thousands of times across LinkedIn, emails flooding my inbox from strangers who saw themselves in my story. I'm a state school grad too, one wrote. You're my hero. I read their words, tears in my eyes, realizing my legacy wasn't just at Carter, it was in every person I inspired to keep going. Lauren texted me that night, her message a spark of joy. Have you seen the news about Horizon? They're done. Brunch Sunday to celebrate you. I laughed. Searching online, headlines confirmed it. Horizon had announced a strategic restructuring, a euphemism for collapse. Their revenue gutted, their brand a cautionary tale. I felt no glee, only a quiet vindication. They'd valued pedigree over performance, and the market had corrected their mistake. I replied to Lauren, "Sunday works. Can't wait." Our college nights in Columbus, splitting ramen and dreaming big, felt like a lifetime ago. Yet her loyalty had shaped this moment. Our brunch would be a toast to friendship, to trust, to a deal that had changed everything. At home, I opened my journal. Its pages a chronicle of my soul. A legacy forged. I wrote. The words heavy with meaning. Not in what I've won, but in what I've given hope, opportunity, truth. I flipped through earlier entries. The pain of Horizon's firing, the spark of joining Carter, the triumph of Apex. Each page was a step toward this peace, this clarity. I pinned a new note to my vision board. Inspire always. It joined lead with purpose and build a legacy. A reminder that my work wasn't done. I thought of my parents, their Columbus home where my diploma hung, their love a foundation. I'd visit soon, bringing stories of my scholarship fund, which had already helped 2 students chase tech dreams. The scholarship was my proudest act, launched to support non-Ivy League students like me. At a recent event, a recipient thanked me, her voice trembling. "You're why I didn't give up," she said. I hugged her, thinking of my high school outreach, the notes that lined my office, the kids who saw possibility because I'd shown it. Giving back was my legacy's heart, a way to honor my roots and reshape the industry. Carter's culture reflected it, our mentorship program growing, our team a mosaic of talent. I thought of Marcus, his gratitude a constant. I thought of Sarah, her potential a spark I'd nurture. I thought of Lauren, our bond a gift that had opened this path. As I prepared for a Women in Tech Summit, where I'd speak again, I felt a surge of purpose. My blog's viral reach had made me a voice for the overlooked, and I'd use it to break barriers. "You're changing things," Nathan Carter had said, his pride in me a mirror of my own. Carter was now an industry leader, our clients loyal, our future bright. I walked through the office, my Ohio State diploma a beacon in my corner suite. It wasn't just a degree. It was a symbol of resilience, of a girl from Columbus who'd risen above Horizon's boardroom to forge something enduring. That evening, I stood on my apartment balcony, the Austin skyline a canvas of dreams. My journal lay open, its final entry a vow. My legacy is purpose, not perfection. It's in every student, every teammate, every client I lift. I thought of my parents, their love a touchstone. I thought of Lauren, our brunch a promise of joy. Most of all, I thought of myself, the Emily who'd walked out of Horizon with her head high, now standing here, heart full, leading with love. A legacy forged wasn't about where I'd started, it was about where I'd arrived, who I'd become, and the lives I'd touched along the way. As the stars emerged, I knew this was my truth, my triumph, my forever, and I was ready, soul alight, to carry it forward. In the heart of Austin, Texas, Emily Harper stood as a beacon of resilience, her journey a testament to the power of purpose over pedigree. At 34, she had transformed from a discarded business development manager at Horizon Systems to chief revenue officer at Carter Innovations, forging a legacy that reverberated far beyond the tech industry. Her story began with 6 years of relentless effort at Horizon, where she climbed from junior associate to a key player through grit and results. Despite her Ohio State diploma being overshadowed by the Ivy League credentials of her peers, her crowning achievement was a $60 million, 5-year contract with Apex Logistics, built on 5 trips to Seattle, late nights crafting a tailored supply chain solution, and a trust earned with Lauren Mitchell, Apex's CEO and her college friend from Ohio State. Yet, just days before the contract signing, Horizon's CEO, Richard Caldwell, and Vice President of Sales, Victoria Langston, fired her, deeming her state school roots unfit for their elite image. That betrayal, cold and calculated, could have broken her, but it ignited a fire that would redefine her path. The boardroom's dismissal was a wound, but Emily walked out with dignity, her Ohio State diploma packed alongside thank you notes from students she'd mentored in her Austin outreach program. She didn't beg or rage. She chose silence, letting Horizon face the consequences of their elitism. And face them, they did. Lauren Mitchell, unaware of Emily's termination, halted the Apex signing when she noticed her absence, declaring Emily the reason for their trust in Horizon. The conference room descended into chaos, Victoria's polished facade cracking, Richard's corporate spin unraveling. Emily, sitting in her apartment, felt a mix of vindication and guilt, her journal capturing the raw truth. Horizon had underestimated her, and Lauren's stand was their reckoning. That moment, born of a college bond forged in Columbus over ramen and dreams, cracked open a door to something greater. Lauren's loyalty led Emily to Nathan Carter, CEO of Carter Innovations, a Seattle-based competitor with a vision untainted by Horizon's bias. Nathan offered her the role of business development director, with autonomy, equity, and a salary that dwarfed Horizon's best. Hesitant but inspired, Emily accepted, her vision board-pinned with "Lead with Purpose" and "Build a Legacy" guiding her leap. She spoke at Women in Tech meetups, mentored young professionals like Sarah, and organized team-building retreats, weaving a culture of trust at Carter. Her counterstrike came in a Seattle conference room, where she pitched Apex a $55 million deal, its cloud-native technology surpassing Horizon's offer. Lauren signed, not just for the solution, but for Emily's integrity. The deal's ripple effect drew other clients, cementing Carter's rise and Emily's reputation. Horizon's fallout was swift and brutal. Victoria was fired, Richard resigned, and the company, its stock down 30%, sought a buyer. Marcus Reed and Sarah joined Emily at Carter, part of a diverse team of 25 that reflected her belief in results over resumes. Emily launched a mentorship program and a scholarship fund for non-Ivy League students, giving back to those who, like her, had been overlooked. Her viral blog post, Resilience Redefined, inspired thousands, her speeches at conferences and high schools sparking hope in state school graduates. Promoted to Chief Revenue Officer, she led Carter to surpass Horizon in market share, her corner office a shrine to her Ohio State diploma, student notes, and a legacy of impact. Horizon's collapse was a distant echo, their boardroom a memory she'd outgrown. Emily's brunch with Lauren, her visits to her parents in Columbus, and her journal entries wove a tapestry of gratitude, purpose, and peace. The lesson from Emily's story is profound. Your worth is not defined by others' biases, but by the impact you create through resilience and authenticity. Horizon's elitism valued pedigree over performance, but Emily's results-sure Apex deal, her team, her scholarship, proved that true success lies in what you build, not where you start. Her journey teaches us to embrace our unique paths, to find strength in betrayal, and to lead with purpose, lifting others as we rise. In a world quick to judge credentials, Emily's legacy reminds us that grit, trust, and integrity are the currencies of lasting achievement. For today's audience, applying this lesson means reclaiming your narrative in the face of doubt. If you're a young professional feeling sidelined by a flashy resume, focus on delivering results, like Emily's meticulous Apex solution, and let your work speak. If you're mid-career and facing workplace bias, build your own vision board, pinning dreams that guide you past rejection, as Emily did. Start small, mentor a colleague, volunteer in your community, or share your story online, as Emily's blog inspired thousands. If you're a leader, foster a culture like Carter's, where diversity and results trump hierarchy. In 2025, when social media amplifies comparison and workplaces demand conformity, channel Emily's defiance, journal your truth, seek allies like Lauren, and give back like her scholarship fund. Your legacy isn't in titles or degrees, but in the lives you touch, the barriers you break, and the purpose you pursue. Emily Harper's story is a clarion call to rise above judgment, to forge a legacy that endures. She didn't just win a deal or a promotion. She redefined success, proving that a state school grad from Columbus could outshine an Ivy League boardroom. Her parents' pride, Lauren's loyalty, and her team's trust were her true trophies, her scholarship and speeches her lasting mark. As she stood in her Austin office, the skyline a canvas of dreams, Emily knew her journey wasn't about Horizon's fall, but about Carter's rise, about the students she lifted, the team she led, and the woman she'd become. Her legacy, forged in resilience, inspires us to embrace our own, to lead with heart, and to build a future where worth is measured by what we give, not what we're given. In every challenge, every doubt, Emily's truth echoes. You are enough, and your story, like hers, can change the world.